So for today, I want to be able to be really honest about something. Um, it's a lot for me personally, emotionally. There's a lot of processing that's gone into this, but I just want us to talk about it. I just want us to talk about it. Um, I have had a week where things have just felt heavy and felt really difficult, which is like the subject of a lot of our conversations. The idea of this website, this blog, this vlog, all of it, with that caption of "while we're here." The idea of like life didn't go according to plan, but while we're here, what can we do to honor the Lord? What can we do to glorify the Lord? How can we continue to point our lives to Him and keep Him in the center of things while we're here? Whatever your here may be, a place that you never expected to be, a place that you never really wanted to be. And for me, I've been hit a lot lately with the feelings of things I never wanted. There have been moments and I would say heavy moments over the last week where the desires and the dreams that I have that have gone unmet at the age of 40 now, those have just been really hard to handle and really hard to process. But I get up, I go to work, I work for the church. I love the church. And when I'm not feeling like it, and I'm feeling like I'd rather have a pity party and I'd rather sit around and, crack open a box of Cheez-Its and a pint of ice cream, I get up and I go to work, because broken hearts should not equate to broken callings. And there are disciples to be made. And so we've got to get up and be about our Father's business and trust Him with the feelings and trust Him with the emotions. Like I said, I work for the church. I love my church, and not just like I love my job. I love my church. I love the local church. I love the body of believers that comes together. I love the people that I get to serve. I love the people that I get to serve alongside. I love my pastors. I love my coworkers. There's nothing about this. I prayed for this job. This didn't used to be my reality, and I prayed for this, and I love this, and I'm grateful for this. And yet at the same time, there are aspects of this that have become heartbreaking. So it's not the church, and it's not the staff, and it's not the people that are causing difficulty or pain for me. But let me give you a little bit of insight. From time to time over the last 4 years, I've been given the opportunity to preach a good amount at our church. And every time I preach, we get a letter in the mail the next day, or sometime that week. It's an anonymous letter. There's no way to track it or trace it. It's not got postage. It's being dropped off in some way. But I guess we could fingerprint it if we wanted to. But we get this letter. And by the way, I'm not the only woman on our staff that preaches. We also have a female pastor that preaches. I'm not a pastor. And so we get this letter, and it is usually to the tune of why women should not be preaching and why we are in error in doing that. And not only us, but also our eldership and our church leadership is in error for allowing this. Now, because I am not the only woman, most of the time, or the only woman that preaches, most of the time, this is like water off a duck's back. And I'm the duck in this scenario. But there is this line that gets added to those letters where the other woman that preaches, it's a pastor, she's married and I'm not. And there is a line that gets put in these letters that talks about how a single woman who preaches is doubly in error because I am not in submission to a man in the church, nor am I in submission to a man in my home. So now why is this so bothersome to me? Because it's an anonymous letter. Let it roll off your back, whatever. Because it's just kind of dumb, honestly. And it shouldn't bother me, but it does. But I handle it. It's water off a duck's back. The water is flowing and I might feel a little bit of raindrops, but they just keep on rolling. It's fine. Most of the time I am unbothered by this. I'm a little bit annoyed, but by and large, unbothered. Okay. However, a little bit ago, recently, we got another letter. Now, I haven't preached since January 21st, so it wasn't about that. This letter had these big red letters on it that said senior pastor's eyes only, written like handwriting on the back of it. And I happen to also serve as the assistant for our senior pastor. So the staff member who gets the mail saw it, and our pastor was in a meeting. And so she brought it to me and she was like, I don't know what to do with this. Should I open this? And I said, no, it's a little bit, it distinctly says senior pastor. I don't know though, let's just check. So I grabbed one of our other pastors, our kind of our number 2 guy. And we opened it together so that he could give it to me if I needed to take it to our lead pastor for any purpose. And it was another one of these anonymous letters, same person, I'm quite sure. And this time it was about single female music ministers. So at this point, it feels like we're targeting me, because the other part of my job, I'm the lead pastor's assistant. I help to oversee our discipleship programs, and I am the worship director at our church, who sometimes preaches. So at this point, I'm like, wow, this is kind of, I'm starting to feel the water on this duck's back here. I'm no longer unbothered. I'm quite bothered by this, because as it goes on, it bullet points reasons that I should not be in the position that I'm in. And it charges me. I'm assuming it's me. I'm not mentioned by name, but I am the only single female music minister in our church. So I think it's pretty clear what we're doing. And it charges me with the fact that I should stop rejecting marriage and I should submit to marriage. By the way, I'm not rejecting it. Nobody has proposed. I've not been able to reject anyone. It's actually quite the opposite. That is my deepest longing and my deepest desire, which is why I said at the beginning, I'm getting a little vulnerable here, but marriage and family is the thing I ask the Lord for the most in my life. It is the one dream I have that has gone unmet at this point. Everything else I've wanted to do, I've done, or I'm doing. Even talking to you guys like this has been a dream to be able to do this. And so it just felt like you are now taking that thing that I long for the most, and you are actually using that as evidence as to why I'm unfit to do the work that I'm doing for the kingdom of God. And that hurts. That hurts. I'm bothered now. I can't this isn't rolling off my back. This is something that is difficult to process and damaging. Especially because some of the things that he bullet points out in this is that I should be submitting to marriage, stop rejecting it. And also statistically, because I am over the age of 45, I'm not over the age of 45. I'm only 40, but I'm over the age of 25. And therefore, statistically speaking, singles who are over the age of 25 are fornicating. Also not something I'm doing. So there's all these assumptions being made in this letter. And it was a tough one. It was a tough one. So when it comes to why am I bringing this up and how does this relate to us? I think 2 things. I think something I said in the beginning is really a word that the Lord gave me, and I want to share it again. Broken hearts do not equate to broken callings. We can get up and we can pursue the Lord wholeheartedly in everything that we do, as every Christian should. And we can dust ourselves off and we can get to work and be about our Father's business. And that is completely what I intend to do. And it is completely what I have done since then. There is a part of me that will feel the wound. The weapons formed will not prosper. They might wound, but they won't be successful in what they're doing. And so I will lick my wounds for a second, and then I will get up and I will show you why everything that you are assuming about me in these letters is exactly the wrong thing to say. Because now you've just set me on fire for the kingdom even more, to prove to you how effective I can be in exactly the station and the life that God has called me to live right now, while I wait for him to bring other things about in my life that I'm still in faith for. I'm not ineffective without those things. I do recognize that the idea of women in the pulpit is a hot topic. It's a very highly debated topic, and there are a lot of different versions of scriptural interpretation in this. But what this person in this letter seems to really want to hit home is the fact that because I'm unmarried or because I'm a single woman in the pulpit, that I am not in submission in doing this. And that alone would make me an error. I would agree with you. If I'm not in submission, then there's probably a problem there, and I would be in error. So let me just affirm anybody that's questioning. Let me just answer the question for you. My lead pastor, who is a man, by the way, I've never preached a sermon that he hasn't asked me to preach. I've never lobbied for a position. I have never fought for something or said I should or I could or you just don't think I'm good. I never thought I would be preaching, ever. I never asked to do it. My pastor 4 years ago came to me and said, there will come a time where you are known more for the words that you speak than the songs that you sing. And I said, cool, I'm late for sound check. And it just rolled right over my head. It was not even on my radar. This happened in my life because of an invitation from a man of God who saw something in me that was worth refining and an opportunity worth giving to me. And for the record, I've never preached a single sermon in our church or anywhere else that my lead pastor hasn't heard first. So yes, I am in submission. Jesus appeared to women first. They were the first evangelists in that context of the resurrection of Christ. You get to Acts 16, and Lydia is a leader in the church, and she's one of the founders and leaders of the church, because there's nowhere in Acts 16 that we see mention of other men other than the jailer that comes later, Paul, Silas, and Luke, who was writing the book. Those are the men that we have. We don't have a man in relationship to Lydia that is mentioned, and yet Lydia starts the church under Paul's leadership in Philippi. So she's clearly in some sort of leadership. There's nothing that I see in scripture that tells me that Jesus doesn't use women in the kingdom to advance the kingdom in this capacity. And if all of that I've said is still just not quite enough to satisfy that for you, then I would submit to you, go read Judges 4. Just go read that. Anyway, my heart and my prayers, as we go back to what I said at the beginning, I love the church. I love the local church, and I love serving the church. I feel like it is a calling. It is more than just something I want to do. It is who I am. I've never been a part of a church that I haven't been serving in, whether I was on staff or not. I love the church. But my prayer for us in the church at large, the big capital C church, not just my local church, but my prayer for the church at large is that we would recognize the gifts in one another, and that we would champion the gifts in one another, and that we would honor one another in everything that we do. That's how we glorify God, and that He would get the glory out of everything, because He is the only one who is worthy.